How's everybody doing today? Good. Doing good? Great. Day's halfway over, right? Everybody had lunch, I hope, right? No naps. Okay. Thanks for having me here today. Want to talk to everybody today about how artificial intelligence or AI can shape, an organization's cyber response, resiliency, and recovery. Quick show of hands in here so I can see the audience. Who here is a cybersecurity professional on a security team? Awesome. Don't raise your hands. If you guys have any questions, these three gentlemen in the middle are my team. That you can talk to them afterwards. But we're going to talk today about how organizations can adopt these principles in different ways. So I'm not going to talk about how to configure, deep down code configuration. We're going to talk about high level. I want you guys to think about how it pertains to your business, how it pertains to your objectives, and how you can help move it forward, right? And then also some of the risks that are out there that are with it. So a little bit about me. My name is Mark Cooley. I'm the Vice President of Security and Compliance for Involta. Has anybody heard of Involta before in Iowa? Awesome. More than one. That's great. So a little bit about us at Involta. A lot of people know us as a co-location and data center provider. We own and operate 12 data centers across the country today. But over the years, we've added a lot of services to our portfolio of what we offer to our customers, like cloud services, managed security, managed desktop, managed support, and a lot of other services, backup recovery, things of that nature as we've grown. But as you can see, we're based in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, but we do have a national footprint of data centers and services that we provide. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on is security and excellence on delivery of services, and we've been delivering security for about the past 8 years to our customers. Come on in. So wanted to talk to you guys today about how we can use artificial intelligence to shape our security posture and practices, right? So think about it today. How do you use AI? Right? Just ask yourself, how do you use it today? Do you use it at all? There's a lot of different questions that are out there. I asked my kids. They only know. My kids are 13 and 14. They only know ChatGPT because that's what they use it for, right? There's all kinds of other ways to use the AI that are out there, but all depends on what you're using it for, right? If you're using it for systems, for network, right? For guidance, right? Even just using ChatGPT to write reports, write presentations like this, right? What do you use it for? How do you use it? What do you want to get out of it? And are you going to be using it, or do you see AI informing you in the future, right? Right now, at its infancy, it's making decisions for us. It's making compute faster. It's helping us guide us along. Have we really trusted it to make a original decision for us, right? Especially in security. If we need a quick decision that we haven't made, are we going to trust AI to make that question? So just think about that as we go through some of these things here today. So biggest thing is, how do we get here in 2023? Okay, I've been in the technology space for a long time. When I first started in the early 2000s, late 90s, we had computers, and majority of it was just antivirus, right? There weren't a lot of threat actors. There were, but their motives were different, right? They did it for show. They weren't necessarily doing it for money. It was more government targeting, not so much private business, right? We can get away with just antivirus and small EDR type. Fast forward real quick to 2010, with the advent of cloud, the internet's more prevalent, things change, right? We have hacktivism, right? Ransomware starts popping up. Who remembers the first time they saw ransomware? Right? I remember when I was working for my previous company, we got a ransomware attack in 2008. We're like, what is this? Right? What has happened? Right? This is not normal and all these things. We were able to fix it quickly by doing a snapshot and a recovery, because even ransomware wasn't sophisticated at the time as it is today, but it was just a change, right? And we said, hey, things have to change on how we become more resilient, how we back up, how we recover, how we respond to things inside of that. And then today, if all of us in the security space here in 2023, it is way different than it was 10, 12 years ago, right? Things are faster, right? We're talking about, cloud computing. We're talking about mobile devices. We're talking about IoT devices. We're talking about, quantum computing to, encrypt files faster, right? And now it's a cat and mouse game, right? But the biggest thing is, threat actors get faster, we have to get as fast or faster than them and keep up, right? There's all these new dimensions that are out there that we have to be aware of, right, today. And what does it look like 5 years from now, right? It's going to be different. So, like I said, there's the old way of doing things, there's the new way, and then there's the next way. So, old way, like I mentioned, antivirus perimeter security. If you're still talking about that today, that's the old way of looking at it, right? Everybody's out in the cloud today, a lot more people are remote. The way that we do things today, a lot of companies in our experience, talking to different customers of ours, different peers out there, we're looking at, 24/7, security operations using SIEM, MDR, XDR, cloud security platforms, all kinds of things that get this data in, right? Log ingestion, make sense of it, look at vulnerabilities, all these operation centers feeding into a central point. That's where we're at today, okay? It's working at some point. There's still a lot of places getting hacked, a lot of things that are happening because there are holes. But we get through that. But what's the next way? What should we be looking at as far as automation and how to use AI, right? Heard these terms out there, SOAR, right? Security orchestration. There's hyper automation, which I've heard this buzzword a few times this week, right? You have hyper automation. All this does is allows us to make faster, more accurate decisions, because that's where it's at, okay? And we have to use AI to help guide us in those decisions, right? That's the key that we need to focus on, because humans are still the weakness. No matter what, no matter how we slice this down, humans are still the weakness, okay? I had a bet with some CISOs yesterday about how many times people will mention MGM this week about stuff right here, okay? It's fresh, it happened very recently. Social engineering had nothing to do with technology at the beginning, right? It was a social engineering. The humans are the weakness, okay? So how do we use AI to help us identify the weaknesses, identify the process, right? Because the humans are the most susceptible in the whole entire chain here, right? Talking people, process, technology. I talk about it all the time when I do presentations. People first, process second, technology's on the bottom when it comes to running business or even running security, okay? So we have to think about that, okay? And also too, how will the criminals use AI to help facilitate human actions and human interaction? It's a tough one, right? Just something to go through there. So when you ask yourself, what is AI? We talk about artificial intelligence, right? This is a good definition that I got. It's a branch of what we do in computing that focuses on systems of machines performing tasks that we would normally do, okay? Teaching machines, teaching technology to have intelligence that we have as humans to make decisions, okay? The other part is learning and reasoning, right, that people are thinking about too, right? Are you gonna, in the future, reason with a computer, right? Go back to the popular culture. You talk to a computer, hey, how's it going today, right? Are you gonna have those interactions? Is it gonna learn from us, right? We talked a little bit yesterday too in our council about, garbage in, garbage out information, putting in bad information to AI engines to get out false information or to mimic or to make AI seem correct, but it's really not, right? So look at those things, okay? So just think about that. In your business, in your lives, how would this interact in the future if you were to trust AI to make a decision for you? So, how is it impacting cybersecurity today, okay? We go through, our organization at Involta, we provide, like I said, managed security to a vast majority of customers. We provide security to ourselves. We provide guidance, advisory services, talking to people, get the word out, So how is AI impacting how we deliver services and how other companies deliver services, right? There's vendors out here that do the same thing, right? So we look at advanced threat detection, okay? Things that are faster. Think about how quick it would take a human to detect something and how fast it would take a computer or artificial intelligence to detect something, right? Predictive analysis, which is a big one. not so much in the moment when you look at logs, you look at traffic, but predict things pre-breach, okay? Using AI to look at a network and say, hey, this configuration is kind of risky. This can happen. Using those types of correlations and algorithms to say, hey, if a threat actor were to exploit this, this is the amount of damage that we can have, right? You can use that information to shrink that down. And you can model what an attack would look like, okay? And that gets into threat intelligence, right? A different way to think about it, right? Today we do a lot of defense when it comes to security. How would it look if you used AI to break your network up into chunks to say, okay, I'm okay with 5% of my network being compromised, the rest of it's fine, right? You break it into 5% chunks. You use AI to get there. I don't know how it works that way, right? Every network is different, but that's a benefit that we can look at. And the biggest thing are the two ones on the bottom. You know, human process management and human behavior management, right? So AI can give us suggestions. It can model behavior. There was a article the other day on CBS, it was CBS This Morning a couple Sundays ago, and they were talking about AI, and they were talking to a war general about how AI was making decisions in the battlefield, right? It was life or death decisions that it was having, right, or would be producing. Not so much here, but in a life and death situation, would a general trust what AI would tell him or conventional knowledge? Okay? How many times is that going to happen until you trust what AI tells you, right? They went through the same exercise with a bunch of professional poker players, okay? The poker players had this conventional wisdom of how to play poker, how to play, what to do, how to bluff, how to do some things. Didn't listen to what AI was telling them to do, but after about 1,000 iterations of what happens, they began to trust what the AI was telling them, okay? So that's an example of behavior modification, okay? Because it's going to be tough sometimes. If a computer tells you to do something, you're like, that doesn't seem right, but maybe it does, okay? And on the process management side, that's exactly what happened with MGM. They had a process breakdown, okay? It was a process of a help desk person taking a phone call, right? That process was broken down. How could they have used AI to fix that process for that human, right? That's a human process, right? There's ways that could have been done. So I want to talk about the three main parts about what I want to talk today about: response, resiliency, and recovery, and how we can use AI in computer networks and security operations to respond to those, right? So let's talk about response first, okay? Let's talk about how an organization would respond to a cyber threat, okay? You know, you can do real-time threat detection. There are tools out there today that use machine learning, that use AI to detect threats, okay, that come into an organization, okay? And the key to that is how fast it happens and how rapid they can respond to it, okay? The other thing that we can use AI for is incident analysis, just as I was talking about before, right? You have incidents that happen all the time. How are you going to analyze those, make sense of those, and fix your network or fix your systems, or I wouldn't say fix, but improve your systems so there's less impact or no impact in the future, okay? There's tools out there today that help us do that, okay? That's just another example of how AI helps us respond to those, okay? The bigger one on the learning curve is dynamic threat adaptation, okay? So this is learning from previous incidents that we can adapt and respond to those strategies. And again, this part of it comes down to two parts. There could be a technological response, then a human response to those, okay? How do we use this technology to take the human element and make it less risky, okay? That's what we're talking about when you adapt to some of those things. Resiliency, okay? We talk a lot about cybersecurity, right? How do we keep threat actors out, okay? You know, in today's world, it's not if, but when, okay? How big do you want your win to be? Do you want a small win or do you want a big win, okay? I would much rather have 5% or 10% of my organization compromised instead of the whole thing, okay? So again, ask MGM how they feel about that, okay? But building resiliency and knowing about your network and knowing about your systems is the key piece of this, right? So early threat prediction, right? It can use threat modeling and predict how things will look in your network if you have an event or you have an incident, okay? This is key. And again, this is thinking a little bit more proactively. Instead of using it as response, how can I use it to improve my overall posture, okay? The second one down here, automated recovery and redundancy, can automatically model a recovery during an incident, okay? We had a phone call a few weeks ago with some engineers from IBM, and one of their products, which I thought was really, really cool, was they were using AI to say, hey, we have this incident that's happening, we've seen it before, right? Very early stages of a ransomware event. And what their AI was able to do was able to tell their systems to automatically snapshot machines and start recovering backups on the side automatically, changing recovery time, okay? That's what you get into resiliency, right? So it changes your recovery time from 4 days, maybe down to 1 day, maybe down to 2 days, which is key at the end, okay? So inside that resilience factor, you are able to have gains and value with that. And then obviously continuous monitoring and adaptive security, right? It sounds a little bit redundant there, but AI engines can continuously monitor what humans can't, right? Because AI can run 24/7, it doesn't need to sleep, it can do all these things, and it can always learn, okay? That's one of the key things that we talk about. When we look at recovery, okay, so during events, we have all this predictive stuff that can happen when we treat it. We can become more resilient, but then again, what happens if we need to recover from an incident or a breach, right? It can help us with that response, be faster, right? It can look at things that have happened in the past. You can program AI or feed AI information of previous breaches by previous threat actors or previous, different tactics that says, hey, my wisdom says we do A, but AI says we should do B because this is what has happened in the past. Maybe we should try B, okay? Number two, I kind of touched on the previous slide, is data restoration and backup management, right? Can you train your AI to be proactive during an event, to kick things off, okay? Process management. Again, that's something that might be done manually today, right? Might be a human decision to say, uh-oh, we're having some incidents here, we're in the moment, somebody needs to do these types of things, may not get to it quick enough. This might be able to do it a little faster, okay? Because again, what we're up against with adversaries is acting, responding as fast as they can compromise us in a security feature. And then again, the predictive analysis is the biggest thing, especially in the recovery, right? Does this work? Has this worked in the past? Am I recovering everything or partial? Does that make sense, right? We can use all those analytics, all that information, all that knowledge that we pump into AI and all these engines to go through and make all that information, work for us and our benefit. So the biggest question is, when we talk about what I talked about earlier about hyper-automation and where it fits, right? So we're going to talk about this slide here for a couple minutes, right? So can we trust it? Okay, we talked about what it can do for us. Can we ask it questions? Do we trust what it gives us? Does it give us wrong information? It might, right? Does it give us accurate information? Does it give us really down the wrong path? But if we look at this path, when we rethink how we're going to look at cybersecurity with hyper-automation or different things, there's different pillars here, right? There's tools that are out there, right? There's automation tools, data orchestration, a robotic process, right? There's products, there's tools out there that you can use, right? Swim lanes here, that's where they live, right? SOAR platforms, SIM platforms, things like that, Expert people. Notice how we can't get rid of people. AI still needs people to run. I know we probably all heard that in the news, the media. Still needs AI. We created it, okay? Humans still need to manage it and oversee it, okay? Industry knowledge and task expertise is what's needed, right? So when I talk about using artificial intelligence to mimic human behavior or move process along for humans, it still needs that human expertise to make sure that it's operating properly, that we can trust it, okay? And business applications are down here as well, because that's all what we're going through. And then the key part down here is intelligence for the people, right? So AI and machine learning to mimic the human experience. Or I'm sorry, the human expertise. Notice how it's down here to mimic it, right? The human expertise is up there, but down here we're going to use it to help mimic that expertise, okay? Over time, if you look at this circle, you're at 4 quarters. Maybe this becomes half of it in a couple years from now, the more we adopt it, okay? Because I know we're all in the infancy of this. Maybe this gets bigger. Maybe it gets smaller. I think it will grow, right? I think this intelligent piece here will start taking over the tools over there, emerge into the tools, so that we have AI making more decisions for the human expertise. So some final thoughts on this one. If you've ever seen war games before, who's seen war games? I want to see hands. Good, nice. All right, good, good. So think about that for a second, right? It's what we're talking about today, right? You have a machine making decisions for us. What almost happens in that movie in pop culture, right? We almost go to a World War III back in the 1980s, right? If you kind of think about that and how that works, that's where we're at today, right? We're having machines make decisions for us or start running things along, okay? So when you look at how we look at AI in cybersecurity, right? Running security programs, security operations, monitoring, all those good things, right? We can use it to work through complex strategy faster, okay? We talked yesterday in our CISO panel. The question was asked, and you can ask yourselves this, right? Is AI today really AI, or is it just faster compute? Because it has all that information, okay? Maybe a little bit of both, right? I've seen instances where I'm going to jam all this information into my AI engine. It's just faster compute because all the information's there, okay? Until it can help me make decisions, then it becomes artificial intelligence, right? Or artificial. It helps us make decisions, obviously. It also helps us build consistency, which is key, right? When you're running a security program, you're going through security incidences, you're going through threat hunting, you're doing some things, you need to have some consistency, okay? Because that helps build it, right? We can ask questions, we can help it model. It can help us make those decisions. Again, we can automate technical and manual processes. It can also build resilient systems for us, because that's the key piece too. As we go along and we morph into that next way of looking at cybersecurity, and that next bucket is how resilient can we be? Okay, everybody isn't going to be in that when factor. How big is it going to be? And do we have the opportunity to model what an attack looks like? Can we make an attack look very small? That's where we need to start looking at. That's how we become faster than some of the threat actors. And then also too, before we go too far, AI is in its infancy, and it always needs human oversight. Okay? Part of that article that I was talking about, that I was watching the other day is, there's a secretary position that was commissioned in the U.S. government to oversee all departments using AI, because there still needs to be oversight. Still needs to be some guardrails on there. Right? I think we've all talked about that. But just think about some of those things and how it pertains to your business and how it may influence how you use it, how you adopt it, more than just a response side, right? How can you use it to make your network better, make your business better, make faster decisions? So, there you go. You guys have any questions? Any questions, thoughts for the group? Yes?
Is there one thing that you think AI right now is doing better than anything else? Like, is it better at decision making? Is it better at fostering
I think with the second one you said is fostering creativity, right? I think in our space right now, the decision-making part's still in its infancy. It's going to get better. The more information that is fed into AI engines, whether you're using it for, like you said, creativity, or even influence, right? Influencing our decisions. I think that's where it's at today. But I think very quickly, it's going to start morphing into that more content piece. Good question. Yes?
I'm a current college student. What do you think I can do as someone trying to go into cybersecurity, start familiarizing myself with AI tools for cybersecurity?
Sure. No, great question. So, just kind of understand what AI is doing, right? What the machine learning is doing inside of those tools, right? So when we talk about, security itself, right? When we're logging machines, taking a look at activity, whether it's network traffic, server traffic, all the things that we look at, what are some of the behaviors that it looks at, okay? And also, don't be afraid if you're still learning or getting into that. Take a look at what your decision would be or what an expert's decision would be, and then also to what the machine's decision would be. So you can make that differentiation, okay? And that's true for everybody in this room, even if you're seasoned professionals in security, right? What's that difference between what the computer's going to tell me and what my conventional wisdom's going to tell me, right? Am I going to block this port, or am I going to do something different to make something go around somewhere else, right? As a small example. Good question. Anybody else? No? All right. Oh.
What do you think about using things like ChatGPT to investigate security incidents?
I think it's good, right? In ChatGPT, you're going to get information that's a little bit older, right? And again, that comes down to what information is in there already, right? You could be a good baseline to kind of influence from what Ethan said over here is to kind of inspire or kind of get some guidance on it. You can ask it those questions, right? If it's something that's happened a lot, you'll probably get some good results from it. But that's the one, so I would say caveat with ChatGPT is that the information is still from, the free version is still from 2021. That's in there, and I forget what the newer version is that they just came out with, a little bit more current. But always have to keep that in mind as well. All right, very good. Thanks everybody for your time, appreciate it.